Another piece that I find women are really fearful of is soy, and how like can do, especially women who don't consume a lot of animal products. I'm like, well, I'm eating a lot of soy. Is that bad? Or women being concerned about any amount of soy. What do you find the research is sharing in recommendations to soy and women's health and hormones, but fertility specifically?
Yeah, so there have been a number of studies looking at soy. I mean, oftentimes soy intake is highest amongst vegetarians, those who are avoiding meat entirely. In fact, if you look at the research on what vegans consume, it's a significant portion of their calories are actually coming in from soy. It's like soy and carbohydrate foods, generally speaking. So there are phytoestrogens in soy that can, bind to estrogen receptors and affect essentially your hormone balance in your body and your hormone signaling. I think whether or not that's going to affect you depends on the quantity of soy. I think it also depends on the quality of soy that's consumed. So beyond the phytoestrogens, soy is a crop that is sprayed pretty heavily with pesticides, particularly glyphosate, because we have this Roundup Ready genetically modified soy that's sprayed with Roundup. Active ingredient is glyphosate. That has all sorts of crazy effects on our hormones and fertility and mineral bioavailability in our body that I go into quite a bit of detail in the book. And so if the soy intake is particularly high and like non-organic, organic soy cannot be sprayed with Roundup, that's when I tend to see the biggest risk of issues. And one of the things that I go into a little bit in the book is like the traditional angle on soy food intake in Asia, because people argue like, oh, well, it's a huge part of the Asian diet. Actually, it is traditionally a part of many Asian cultures' diets, but it's not a huge part of the diet. Average soy protein intake is something like 10 grams a day, but you look at like a soy protein bar and you might be getting 15, 20 grams of soy protein right there. It's also consumed in more traditional manners where it's been fermented or like a long cooking process or made into miso or something like that, which can offset some of the compounds in soy that can be kind of problematic to our nutrient metabolism in our body, like phytic acid and those sorts of compounds. And so I don't know that soy is like, yes, for sure, it's always going to cause hormone issues, but for somebody who's heavily reliant on it as a primary protein source, and if it's mostly like non-fermented, non-organic soy, then yeah, like I do often see it disrupting the menstrual cycle. And so I think you just need to be aware of what you're consuming and then try to monitor and see what's happening. Are your cycle parameters truly within the normal range, or is there something like a little bit off? How's your digestion? Soy can be particularly difficult to digest when it's in an unfermented form or when it's been like isolated into a soy protein isolate and put into like a meat analog kind of a product. So like, how's your digestion going down? Because I mean, ultimately our digestive health and how many nutrients we're absorbing from our food does have carryover effects on our fertility. So those would be some of the things I'd, have in the back of my mind.